Happy New Year. I'm your host, Kiki Ramsey, and welcome to Courageous Living. On this show, I aim to help you get courageous in everything that you do. This year, we're going to have amazing programming for you, but today's show is going to blow your mind. We're talking about how to bring sexy back to your marriage. Now, listen, ladies, if you're married, this show is going to bless you. If you want to be married or engaged, this show is still going to bless you. So don't go anywhere, stay in your seats, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how to really spice up your marriage and bring sexy back. Welcome back to Courageous Living. I'm your host, Kiki Ramsey, and I am here with my fabulous guest that I want to welcome, Gayle Crowder. Gayle is a relationship expert and style expert and my very good friend. Welcome to the show, Gayle.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly blessed to be on here with you today, Kiki.
Yay! I'm so happy that you're here. We have a juicy topic today. We are talking about bringing sexy back to the marriage.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm married and you're married.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me how long you've been married.
I've been married to a wonderful man for 25 years.
Wow, 25 years. And you know that I know this, but I mean, 25 years is a very long time to be married.
Yes,
to the same person.
Yes, it is, especially, you know, when you get married very young. Mm-hmm. And you have a bunch of trials and tribulations.
Right.
But we're still forging ahead with God's help, and I am so blessed to be married to him to this day. But you know, some days is better than others.
Absolutely. I want to talk about some of them.
Okay.
And so, but I do want to ask you, what's your story? Tell me you and your husband's story. His name is
Gilbert Crowder.
Yes.
And again, we've been married 25 years. Gil and I met when he was in the first part of his schooling, his respiratory pulmonary schooling in San Antonio, Texas, which that's where I'm originally from, and he's originally from Tennessee. And we met actually at a club, and he was watching the butts go by, and that was my first time ever, because I love to dance. I'm not a drinker, but I love to dance. First time I ever asked a guy to dance. And actually I had went out and on the dance floor, danced a couple times, and I walked away, and he was like, hey, you know, basically, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to sit down. And he said, why? And then we got to talking, and I made him take him and my girlfriends out to breakfast, because he was lost. He didn't know how to get back to the base because he was in the military at the time. And he literally was up the street and around the corner, but I made him buy us breakfast. And within 6 months of that, us first meeting, we were married.
Really?
Yep.
Six months.
Yes.
So from the time that you met to the time that you got married, the period was 6 months.
6 months.
So how did you know that, you know, he was the one?
Well, I think the thing, it was definitely a heart thing, because he was a person of his word. He was a man of integrity, and he had a direction in life. And to be honest with you, at that time in my life, at age 20 and going into 21, I had no direction. I had dreams and goals and aspirations, but no plan to get there. Mm-hmm. And so just our relationship really developed because he was a person of his word. He had dreams and goals and direction, and he really helped me get on the path of being the woman I am today.
Okay.
So
now I love that, because you said he had dreams and goals and the direction, and that was attractive to you.
Absolutely.
And I know that as a woman, a lot of times we have things that we want on a long list of things, and we're going to talk about the list and all that kind of stuff a little bit later on. But I know for me and my husband, we also met, and we were married within a year.
Yes.
Like, so 1 year we met, and we actually met online.
Wow. Okay.
And we were married within a year. So I know that those things can happen. Mm-hmm. But what I want to talk to you about is, I know from us being friends that you've had some really
trying times.
Absolutely. I want you to tell us, you know, maybe the audience, what that look like for you? What was a situation that was really trying to you that kind of tested the waters of your relationship?
Well, just to be honest, I came from a single parent household where my mother ran everything. And so going into my marriage, I didn't have real healthy examples of what positive marriages look like. And so therefore, I was very mouthy and very independent. And I think my mouth was the biggest catalyst for us in 1996 to end up where we were going to split. And actually, it's a funny thing now, but back then it wasn't funny, where I was going to kill Gayle. And I'll tell you how that happened. We as women, especially independent women, when you begin to build your career and have financial security and all those kind of things, then you really learn that sometimes you feel that you don't really need your spouse. And I was one of those people that verbalized what he couldn't do for me, or what I didn't need him to do for me.
So you would tell him
absolutely
that, oh, this is...
I have my own house, my own car, my own that when I met you, so what good are you, basically? And I was good at telling him that when I got angry.
Wow.
And those kind of things. So leading up to what our big downfall in 1996 is that I was constantly telling him what he was not doing and what I needed from him, and basically treating my husband like a child, if you really want to be honest about it. And you know, one day I went to work, and I was working part-time because my oldest son, who's now 21, was 4. And I had really we had a big argument. And I had went to work because I was working part-time. And the day that I went to work at 6 o'clock, between the hours of 6 and 10 when I returned home, my husband had basically cleaned the whole entire house out.
Wow.
And took my child.
What? I mean, you
took him. Like,
he had moved out.
Moved everything out.
And took your 4-year-old child with him.
Wow. Absolutely.
Okay.
And left me this note and said, I am not your child, and you will never talk to me like this, and all this kind of stuff. And at first, when I first walked into my house, I thought somebody had robbed us, because it was like everything, it was just disheveled. I mean, everything was gone except for he left the couch. That was it. And maybe a dish or so. I don't even remember. But I was, you know, once I read the note that, you know, we were not burglarized, that he had literally took all the stuff and my child, I was very angry.
Wow.
I was very, very angry. And I was so angry that I even included other people, because I had told his godmother to go get my youngest son's godmother. I told him to go get him from him because we were arguing. And I used to use my son basically as a pawn, to be honest with you. Whenever I got mad, he was my child. You know what I mean? I'm the one had him. I'm the one who, you know, he was my child.
We tend to do that a lot of times.
Yes.
What's mine is mine.
Yes. And so, and when things were going well, it was both of our children.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, with that, and so he had taken my child, and I literally had called the Montgomery County Police Department, and I told them that he had basically kidnapped my child, and that, you know, so they sent the officer out or whatever. It turns out that they figured out we was married, and that he had legal custody over him just as well as I did. And I told the Montgomery County Police Department that I was going to kill him.
Hold on. You told the Montgomery County Police that you were actually going to kill your husband.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Unless he brings my child back. So those were the choices. They was going to either find my child and bring my child back, or I was going to kill Gayle and take my child.
Not kill Bill, but kill Gayle.
Absolutely. So, I'm just being honest. I was going to kill him.
Oh, my goodness.
And,
okay.
the police officer knew that I was a deranged woman at the time, and he's like, I can't report this, but you need to not say that ever again. But I was really, really serious. And in that point in time, you know, I realized, just reading the note that my husband had left me, that, you know, I had basically tore him down so much as a man with my mouth.
Yeah.
And his last statement was to me, if you could only take half of what you dish out.
Woo.
And once I realized what I had dished out over the years, that I wouldn't have stayed as long as he stayed, to be honest with you. I wouldn't have.
If we're only being honest with each other, if we're being candid,
Yes.
you wouldn't have stayed.
I wouldn't have stayed with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I had to do the work on me first.
Absolutely.
And I had to seek counseling. Why did I tear my husband down that way? Why did I have to say everything that I felt?
Hold up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I need you to say that again. And the only reason I'm saying this is because so many times we, women, we are so scared to go to counseling. We're so scared to seek help. We're so scared to ask people for help.
Absolutely.
To fix our problems because we're scared to be vulnerable to someone else knowing our quote-unquote business.
Well, the thing was, it was either not repeat the same things that had went on in my life with not seeing marriages work, or to change that. And I wanted my children to grow up in a household with a mother and a father in a healthy relationship, because I don't believe that you should stay if it's not going to be healthy. So I had to get healthy myself and learn to realize that I was in a partnership and I was not his mother.
Ooh,
so I had to learn that.
That's deep.
I had to learn that. And it was a difficult lesson, because when you're used to being able to say and do or whatever you wanted to do and not be dependent on someone to feed you and those kind of things, it makes it very difficult. And when you didn't see something healthy growing up, you have nowhere to reference from. Right. And so with that, I wanted to change the dynamic of my household, and I had to start with me. Okay. And so I went and got counseling, and I was in counseling for over a year. Wow. Just learning to control my anger, to control why I acted out the way that I acted out. Right. And so with that, we switched our relationship. I rededicated my life to Christ. I put God in the center of my marriage. All those kind of things were things that I had to do first. Right. Before I couldn't change Gayle, because I had to realize he was not the problem. I was the problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so profound when we talk about marriages. Is, you know, so many times as a woman, we want the things we want. Okay, I understand that. As a married woman, I mean, we get that. We want the things we want.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, really understanding that it's us who we have to change.
Absolutely.
And not them. And in order to really ultimately get the things we want, if we can change ourselves and better ourselves and make ourselves better, then we can honestly take it to the next level that we want to.
That's true. But the thing is that you have to realize it's you. And sometimes it's easier to point the finger at someone else. But, you know, they said you point this finger and there's 3 or 4 pointing back at you. So actually 3. And so, and so for me, I had to realize it was 3 other fingers pointing back at me.
Wow. Wow.
And so when I went and did the work, it literally transformed my marriage.
Right.
And how Gayle and I communicate to this day.
And so to this day, your relationship with your husband is what?
It's happy and healthy. Do we go through trying times? Do I miss it sometimes? Does he miss it sometimes? Absolutely. But I would say today, we're in a really, really good place.
And so, you know, in order to really take it to the next level, which is what we're going to be talking about coming up next, bringing that sexy back to your marriage, because a lot of people, a lot of women per se, a lot of relationships are where you and Gayle were before this point in time.
Correct.
You know, being unhappy, very emotional, not open, closed off to their spouse. And I've been in all those places myself. And so bringing sexy back to the marriage is just going to really, I feel, bless so many women's marriages. And also, I don't want to leave out the women who are not married yet, the women who are engaged, or the women who want to get married, because all the things that we're talking about today on this show can bless and help some other women's lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is that bringing sexy back from the marriage was birthed out of myself and 3 other women just having a conversation that we had never had a conversation about sex, marriage, and intimacy. And how do we get to the point where we don't even want to do any of those things because so many other things have clouded our marriages.
Hold that thought. Woo, it is getting spicy up in here, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking about bringing sexy back to the marriage right after this. Welcome back. I'm your host, Kiki Ramsey, and I'm with my good friend and special guest, Gayle Crowder, Relationship and Style Expert. Okay, so Gayle, we got to get right into it. Before we went on break, we were talking about bringing sexy back to the marriage. Well, let me just say, bringing sexy back to the marriage actually is a conference. It's a conference for women, engaged and married women, who want to
bring sexy back to their marriage.
Woo woo. Okay, so you were just, before we went on break, telling me how the idea of bringing sexy back to the marriage was actually birthed.
It was birthed from myself and 3 of my girlfriends. We went to a networking event, and it was about women entrepreneurs and that kind of thing. We had met many wonderful entrepreneurial women that were, doing different things. And one of my girlfriends at the time had just got remarried 6 months prior to us going to this networking event. So we went to lunch. And it was around 12:15 when we all sat down and began to talk. And, after the guy took our drink order, she just blurted out, "I am so tired of having sex with my husband. All he wants to do is have sex." Now, just give you some background. The women that was sitting at the table with myself, we had all been friends at least 14 years or more. And we had all talked about our husbands. One of the ladies had been through a divorce, so we went through the divorce with her and all those kind of things. And we had complained, how we complain about our spouses and complain about what they don't do and all those kind of things. But we had never, ever had a in-depth conversation about sex and marriage. And when she blurted that out, because it came absolutely from nowhere, it had nothing to do with the networking, it had nothing to do with the food. I mean, she just blurted it out. It was like she was carrying this burden. She's like, now we're here, I'm going to release it. And so when she said that, it was like, welcome to the club. You know what I mean? And that opened a dialogue that we had never, ever had in all the 14 years plus we had all been friends. And so we began just to talk about, how our bodies had changed after we had children, and, we working in this metropolitan area and having to sit on 270 and all the rest of the 95s and just all the different things that by the time you get home and you do homework and you iron clothes and you cook dinner and you do all those things, at the end of the night, you have nothing left.
Wow.
And how when we were younger and we didn't have all of those responsibilities, and even if we were working jobs that when we were dating our spouses, how we looked forward to romance and putting on the high heels and, going to buy the lingerie and cooking him dinner and running the bath water and putting on this. I mean, we went through the whole entire, how was it so different then until where we are now and today in our lives.
Right.
And does economics, does time, all those kind of things, does it play a part for you to really lose your sexy back? And how do you get it back?
Yeah. How
did you let it slip away?
How did it get away?
Where did it go? And so we were just talking and talking and talking about so many different things. And we had all came in different cars because we all live in different areas in Montgomery County and Prince George's County, and one lived in Washington, D.C. at the time. And so when we got in our cars, as I was driving off, it was like this. I wanted the conversation to continue. And we were there from 12:15 to 7, almost 7 something. And we ended up tipping the waiter $100 because it was like we had taken up the table, for all that period of time. That's a long period of time.
Right.
But, as I got in my car, it was like, God was just like, you really should do something about that. And I'm like, do something about what? He's like, about the conversation that it took 14 years for you to have with your girlfriends. Because if she wouldn't have blurted that out, we would have still had surface conversations.
Oh, yes.
We would have never went there. We would have never talked about maturing and all the stuff that goes on as a woman.
Right.
Because men age a lot different than we do, and I'm sure that you know that. And so we just had a really good conversation. And so as time progressed, you know, Kim and I, she was like, we really should do. She said, because I think about it all the time, and I was thinking about it. And we just began to say, okay, we can do this. Of course, we had no funding, we had no direction or nothing. We just had a conversation. And God has shown me that there's women all over the world that don't have a safe place to come talk about all the things that we talked about with my girlfriends. So that's really where Bringing Sexy Back to the Marriage was birthed, just out of a conversation.
So you launched Bringing Sexy Back to the Marriage, was it 4 or 5 years ago?
Now this is my 5th year.
5th year.
Fifth
All right.
year.
Yay.
Wow.
5th year.
God, time flies.
And it's such an amazing thing. So is the conference just about sex? Like, is it about like,
no,
you know,
it
like,
is about the total woman. And I have people that come to teach us. I have a chef that comes to teach us, you know, how to cook quick, simple, healthy meals for our families. I have people, I mean, every year is different. When I say every year is different, every year is different. But I've had health and fitness and wellness people come. I always teach the image part because that's what I do for a living. That's my profession. I have hairstylists that come and makeup artists. I have an interior designer that comes and decks out the room and makes it very sexy and teaches you how to do that on a budget.
Okay, so I've actually been to Bringing Sexy Back to the Marriage, and of course I loved it. I mean, I really felt like it enriched my soul, and it also rekindled some things for me and my husband. And the best part, you know, I loved was the dance. Ladies, let me tell you. You get to learn this awesome, nice, sexy dance for your spouse. And I felt like that for me helped me break down walls.
Absolutely.
Because I feel as being married, sometimes we do have those walls that we put up, and we don't talk about this stuff even to our spouses.
And we put up these walls because some of it could be hurt. He hurt me, so I'm going to build this wall. And every time something happens that doesn't go our way, we put up a wall. And a lot of times we use sex and intimacy as that blocker.
Right.
You know, he made me mad. Okay, we'll see what happens at 9 o'clock tonight, you know. And we don't do that always consciously. Some of us do, because I used to be that person. But not all of us. But all of those barriers. And then you have some women that are really having health issues, menopause, all those different kind of things. So we talk about so many different things that we're just open, free, and it's a safe place.
And that's what I felt when I went, that it was a real safe place, because we as women, we have a lot of hurts, especially as married women. And, you know, with this conference, it is a safe place because, number one, you have to be married, correct?
Correct.
Or you have to be engaged to be married to even come. And
I
I know that there are so many women who want to come to this conference but can't because they're not either married or engaged. But don't worry, because we're gonna do something for the single ladies
that want to get married.
Right. But you know, for this conference, in terms of just being at a place where you're broken, you know, it's such a good thing. What are some of the situations in terms of women that you've counseled, that you've seen, who've entered your doors? What are some of the chains? I love that song, Break Every Chain. What are some of the chains that you see?
Some of the changes is the very first conference, I would say first conference and the second conference. The very first conference I had a lady that came. She had her divorce papers ready. And she said, I seen this particular conference in the newspaper. And I said, I'm going to go, and this is going to be my last shot. If this doesn't work, he's going to get these papers. At the end of the conference, she stood up, And she began to tear up the papers. And of course, we at first did not know what she was doing, but she got up and gave her testimony. She tore up the papers, and she said, I realize just from your testimony, it's not him, it's me.
Wow. Wow.
She said, and I can literally go back home and realize it's not him, it's me.
Wow.
Because the thing is that my testimony might not lead to everyone wanting to shoot their husband, but everybody has to take responsibility for where they are in their marriage.
Absolutely.
And it takes two to be in the marriage. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And sometimes it's a lot easier to point at him.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not saying that my husband's
really is.
perfect, but I contribute to a lot of the stuff too. And so with that one, she tore up the thing. And then also the lady who's my interior designer, when she came to the second conference, she is a very shy, very standoffish kind of person. And she came to the conference and she began to blossom.
Wow.
And at the time, she was not my interior designer. I didn't even know who she was, you know, in a sense of her skill set. Do you know, I got one of the longest, best testimonies from her husband. He told me, I have no idea what you did to my wife, but I will tell you, anything, anytime, any price that you put on your conference, she will be there.
Wow.
He said, because she literally came back a totally different woman.
Oh, my goodness. We're wrapping it up. This conversation is so good. So 2 quick things I want to ask you.
Sure.
One, what advice would you give to a married woman who wants to bring her sexy back to her marriage?
First of all, you can come to my conference. My conference is this month, January 24th and 25th at the Gaithersburg Wyndham Hotel. And you can visit my website to find out all the information.
What's the website?
www.bsbconference.com. So it's bsbconference.com. All the information is on there. We have some wonderful videos and testimonies from the previous conferences. And it's actually the home of the One Sexy Wife. So if you're looking to be a One Sexy Wife, it has a lot of resources on there that you can go to and just really have a good time and spend time on there and learn a whole bunch about what we do. So I'm truly excited about that. It is a day-and-a-half conference. I purposely started on Friday night at 7 p.m. with a girlfriend's dinner party. And so we really make sure that we have a lot of fun.
What's the theme this year?
The theme is called The Art of the Geisha.
Geisha.
Yes.
And what does that really mean?
The Art of the Geisha is that we're going to learn principles from the geisha, really how to submit to our husbands, but still be who God created us to be, which is really beside him and not behind him. And a lot of times when we talk about submission, we think that we have to be docile individuals, and the geisha is a very powerful woman.
And you know that word submission is really
oh my God,
it's big.
It's one I'm still working on, but I've gotten there after 25 years. But yeah, so that is one of the biggest principles we're going to work on.
Thank you so much, Gail, for being with me today. You have just blessed me, and I know that you've blessed other women too with this message.
Thank you so much for having me, and ladies, I'll see you on the 24th.
And don't go anywhere, because I'm going to wrap the show up right after this. Oh my goodness, I know that if you are married or you're engaged or you want to be married, then this show truly blessed your life. My guest, Gail Crowder, really taught us that bringing sexy back to your marriage is not just about sex. It's about you and the responsibilities that you take for your happiness. Because if you are happy, then in turn you'll have a happy marriage. And that is a recipe for success. So I hope to see you at the Bringing Sexy Back to Your Marriage conference happening this month on January 24th and 25th. Visit bsbconference.com for more information. And then if you're a woman who's struggling with fear or challenges in your life, I want to help you in 2014. So visit me at kikiramsey.com and enter in your information and let me know how I can help you. Until next time, get courageous.